Hi everyone, I am Dr. Jeannie Doig, naturopathic doctor, and I practice in Port Alberni and Tofino. And this is my lovely colleague, Dr. Tanya Winchester, and she practices as a naturopathic doctor as well in Nanaimo. And today I invited her to join me to discuss ways to improve your digestion. So thank you for joining me, Tanya.
Hi, yes, happy to be here.
So first of all, I am going to ask you, how does stress affect your digestion?
Okay, so really this is such a key thing that you need to take away. Stress is it's the poison to digestion. What happens when we're stressed, we've talked a lot about stress over the last few weeks, and basically what happens when we're stressed is your blood flow diverts to organs that need it the most. And by organs, I actually mean your muscles and your brain, because there's some sort of threat that you need to run away from or fight to survive it. Now, what gets ignored are really important things like your vital organs, your organs of digestion, reproduction. And so basically, when we are stressed, when we're experiencing stress, the blood flow decreases to the gut. It doesn't function as well as it can or should. It's not going to break down your food effectively for you. You're not going to be able to take in nutrients, and you're not going to be able to then convert those nutrients into energy. So we see everything from, heartburn to IBS, so constipation or diarrhea, to bloating and gas when people are stressed. And calming the stress response is one of the best things that we can actually do to heal the digestive system. And I just want to share a little story that I witnessed the other day in nature. We have this pond in our backyard, and there was this snake eating a live frog. It was quite the sight. But after the frog had been ingested, the snake just laid there for about 3 hours in a sunny spot, digesting. And so really put those two words together, rest and digest. And that's sort of the opposite of the fight or flight response or our stress response. They do not go together. We can have one or the other.
Excellent, excellent. And the vagus nerve too attaches from the brain to the gut, and it only is functioning if you're in a relaxed state in what's called the parasympathetic state. So you can't digest if you're stressed.
Exactly.
Right?
The rest and digest, the fancy word for that, the parasympathetic. And that vagus nerve travels in both directions too. So we're getting signals from the gut back up to the brain, which is really interesting too.
So interesting, Tanya, how everything is so connected.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me a bit about microorganisms in your gut and what role do they have to play?
Yeah, we're hearing a lot more about, probiotics. We see that in yogurts, we see it advertised in television. The microorganisms make up 3 to 5 pounds of our body weight. And in terms of actual numbers of bacterial cells in our body, triple what our body cells are. So we have a ton of organisms that hang out inside us, and generally they're there to support us. And they do things for us like help us break down our food. So there's a digestive component. They help us actually produce some of our nutrients, some of our B vitamins and things like vitamin K. So there is I always use this word nutrification. They help us nutrify our bodies. And they also are the frontline sort of soldiers of defense for our immune system. So anytime there's a mucous membrane, there is some sort of colony of various microorganisms, and their job is to prevent other pathogenic organisms from actually getting inside the body. So the entire gut is lined, primarily really in the colon, is lined with these microbes. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of different varieties of them, and they actually all have different functions, which is really neat. And science is able to now extract these, because they're anaerobic, they can't live in oxygen, but there's new sort of DNA sampling methods that allow us to learn more about these organisms. They control everything from fat programs in the body to thin programs in the body to mental health. It's really, really phenomenal.
So interesting, and such a new cutting edge topic, finding out more and more about those microbes in our gut, right? They're just discovering more and more about them and what they do and how they affect our overall health.
Yeah, and they're basically our synergistic buddies. They're allies in our health, and we have to make sure that we're actually taking care of them. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I think, further on, but it's just we're not just taking care of ourselves. We're actually making sure we need to put the right environment in place for those organisms to thrive so that ultimately we can thrive. Yeah, I'm getting like, oh, I get excited. It's such a
Great.
fun topic.
So Tanya, do you have some tips for optimal digestion that you can share?
Yes. So the most important thing, like I mentioned, because stress is going to shut down the gut, the most important thing is to eat when you are calm, when you are in a resting state. So no stimulus, calm environment while you're eating, no phone, no TV, no newspapers, no radio, whatever other media there are out there. Just be present with your food. You could play some light music, but I wouldn't recommend anything sort of more intense. Breathing, one of the best ways that we can flip the switch between that parasympathetic, rest and digest, and let me go the other way. The sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mode, the stress mode, breathing is one of the best ways to flip the switch between fight or flight and rest and digest. So breathing, I'll actually have my patients breathe deeply into their bellies before they start eating. And another thing that I'll recommend is actually digestive bitters. These are herbs that will stimulate the digestive juices to flow, and so that you'll be able to break down your food, and also to create the movement in the gut that we need to propel food and waste through the gut too. So we'll either do herbal bitters, or even apple cider vinegar can be used for this purpose. It's really important that we focus on removing foods that aren't good for us. So everybody's going to have a different set of foods that are reactive to them. And that's really, really key, because they're going to create havoc in the gut and prevent you from being able to digest your food effectively. And lastly, I would really recommend seeing a naturopathic doctor. The gut is like the epicenter of health in the body. And if you don't have a healthy gut, you don't have a healthy anything. So because everyone's going to have a different set of factors in their life that are causing their gut issues, get a professional to help you. I mean, whether or not it's Jeannie or I, get someone to help you, because there are so many options for you to be able to have a healthy, functioning, optimal, beautiful gut.
Thank you, Tanya. I love it.
So I touched a little bit on
important for our health.
Yeah, I know. It's we learn early on in naturopathic education, like if you have an unhealthy gut, you have an unhealthy body. The two, are absolutely synonymous. So we have to have a healthy gut so that we can have a healthy body. Yeah. So I talked about a little bit about food reactivities. Can you elaborate on that for me and for us, everyone watching, and how food sensitivities play a role in digestion?
Yeah, so food sensitivities can occur and are quite common, and they develop just sometimes from overeating a food, or having inflammation in your gut from too much stress, or too many antibiotics, or other medications can disrupt the gut flora, lead to inflammation, and lead to your inability to digest certain foods. So you get bloating, gas, skin issues, even anxiety. It affects your whole body, these food sensitivities. They're different than food allergies, and I just want to stress the difference. A food allergy is something that you immediately feel, like anaphylaxis if you eat shrimp or peanuts. A food sensitivity you don't immediately feel. It's an IgG antibody reaction. So it lasts for actually 72 hours in the body. So you might have eaten, cheese 3 days ago, and you don't know why you're bloated today. So it can have that effect for a few days. And it's difficult sometimes to know what foods are causing it. So you can test food sensitivities. There's blood testing that we do as naturopathic doctors that give you a list of over 120 foods, and you see which ones you're more highly reacting to. And you can also do elimination diets. So that's another way where you avoid the top 5 sensitivities, the most common ones, which are gluten, dairy, eggs, corn, and soy, for 2 weeks minimum. And then you have to reintroduce one at a time. And it's a slow process. You have to go slow and see how your body feels. And you can get coached with a naturopathic doctor on doing an elimination diet as well to discover which foods are causing your problems. Because there's usually, if you have some issues with bloating or gas or other issues in the whole body, sometimes it's foods that are causing the inflammation in your whole body. So it's good to figure it out.
Yes, and the old adage from Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine, right? And medicine be thy food. It's such a key role, and it's something that we have a lot of control over, the things that we are putting in our body, right? Yeah. So on that topic, actually, can you tell me about the importance of whole foods diet, and how that relates to optimal digestion?
Yeah, so what I stress to all my patients is making sure you're eating whole foods. And what I mean by that is foods that are not in a package, so foods that come in their natural form. So if you go to the grocery store, you pretty much have to avoid 80% of it if you want to eat whole foods. You eat at the periphery, shopping in the periphery of the grocery store, avoiding the middle aisles, which is all packaged foods. And what's in packaged food that's bad? There's sugars, there's processed chemicals, there's MSG, there's a big long list. And any chemical that you don't recognize or you don't understand what it sometimes is not good for your gut. It could cause inflammation. Some patients are more sensitive than others, but it can disrupt your gut flora and cause inflammation and cause you to develop food sensitivities because of the packaged foods. So I really coach my patients on how to eat properly, like how to, make all the whole grains, where you buy rice, brown rice, or quinoa, or amaranth, teff. There's all these beautiful ancient grains that are full of proteins and B vitamins that you can cook instead of eating processed, chips or white bread, right? Which don't have any nutrients and isn't going to help the fiber, isn't going to help the health of your gut. So important to eat whole foods and a variety of foods, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, good proteins, whether it's vegetarian proteins or meat proteins, but good whole proteins, avoiding processed meats, which have chemicals, again, to process them or preserve them. And avoiding anything like in a package. And if you do have to eat some packaged foods, I suggest at least eating organic packaged foods. I know they're more expensive, but if you read the label, they don't have any chemicals added. They're just food. So reading your labels, if you do have to eat some packaged foods, is important too. And educating yourself, right? And reading and learning what you're actually eating, because so many foods are advertised as healthy, but they're not when you read the labels. They're not at all. And read the ingredient list and see if you recognize all the foods on that list.
Yes, that's so key to have the, if you can't pronounce it, or if it was made in a lab, it takes a lab to break it down. And the packaged food technique is like, if it has one ingredient on it, it's a good whole food, like rice, barley, quinoa, as examples. Yeah, totally. So yeah. I have a lot of patients with this, and I'm sure you do too, but can you tell us about what SIBO is and what we can do about it?
Yeah, SIBO it stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And it's a relatively newer term, but it's now considered the leading cause of irritable bowel syndrome. So what it is it's bad bacteria that are in your small intestine that shouldn't be there. They maybe originally were in your large intestine and were okay there, but somehow they moved up to your small intestine, and they're causing a whole whack of problems. They cause a lot of gas. So they feed on fiber, sugar, and alcohol, and they cause gas, a lot of gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, just overall digestive discomfort, acid reflux, all of that. It can be caused from lots of antibiotic use or processed foods or sugar, or just over time, and medications can cause it. And a lot of people have it. A lot of people have symptoms of SIBO. So you can test for it through a breath test that will tell you whether you have methane or hydrogen gas, and then so that would determine which type of SIBO you have. And you can eradicate it with either medications or herbal supplements too. And it's usually just a 2 to 4 week course of eradication, and it can make a huge difference in how you feel. It's one of the best things you can do for your gut, is getting rid of those bad bacteria that shouldn't be there.
Yes, and this is another great example to see a naturopathic doctor, because this is something that we're so well versed to help with. And what I wanted to say was, if you've ever taken a probiotic and felt worse taking the probiotic, probably there's something like SIBO going on, and that's something that Jeannie or I or any naturopathic doctor could help you with. Yeah.
Yes, very good point, Tanya, because some SIBO will feed on the probiotics. So you have to eradicate the SIBO first, then replenish the gut with healthy bacteria. So it's a process, and you should be coached through it with a health professional, like a naturopathic doctor that's trained in this. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, we've covered so much. This is such a huge topic. We could talk for days and days and days about digestion.
Well, we'll wrap up now, but thank you so much, Tanya, for joining me. And I look forward to discussing immune system with you next week.
Perfect. That sounds awesome. Take care. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.